Well, we're at $47,560,
Okay.
which means we need $3,340 to $440 to get there.
So if we can get 3,000 people calling in, donating $1, we will be all set. Now, to the 3,000th caller, I will give you this Lego kit. I will bring it to you or mail it.
I'm liking your attitude. I'm liking that you're bringing gifts.
Thank
You're the
you.
only guest who has brought gifts so far. I have to tell you that.
Not only did I bring gifts, but I thought I brought a harmonica. So this is an interview/musical act.
Okay, well,
Vanguard. And I'll play the two. I'll try and weave in the sound of the calls too, like backup instrumentals. So.
That's about it for me.
That was great.
Can I tell you, Matt, we have something we call telethon moments.
Yeah.
20 years from now, that will still be a telethon moment.
And when I'm running for Congress, I will regret this moment.
Well, Matt, thank you so
Oh,
much
my
for
pleasure.
everything you do
My
for Catholic
pleasure.
TV.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it,
Thank you, Father.
and we appreciate all you do. And you got to keep it up, though.
I will. I
You
will.
have to keep it up
I
because
always make time for these.
it's one of the highlights I have watching this is the day is when those pieces come on, because a lot of times I do not see them until they come on.
And, yeah.
And Father Reed and I always inevitably will say while they're on, we'll say, you know what, he gets it. He gets it. And they're just excellent. And my kids will be very thankful.
Good.
Oh, one of them will be very thankful. The other two, I'm sending them to your way.
All right.
I knew it.
There you go. We didn't get 3,000 calls. Give them all away. All right, so I'm the last presentation today. This is called Viral Vatican. It's not about the Pope contracting swine flu. It's viral in the sense of, obviously, new media. A lot of social issues always come up when you talk about the Catholic Church. And then it's the issue of, is the church even relevant? Like, what is the point of religion? Specifically, what is the point of Catholicism? And people would say, you know, there's a misuse of power. It's just irrelevant in general. We're out of touch. The church is out of touch. Or you go to church, and what's the point, right? The homilies are boring. You fall asleep. You get your communion, you go home, and your mother's happy. That's the sentiment of a lot of people. And for 2,000 years, this church has existed. It's the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica. And it's now a question of, where does it go? With all of the previous 4 slides, and with the way digital natives are consuming information, does the typical system work? So my grandparents, they loved the Catholic Church. It was very relevant to them. It meant something to them. And at our most, that says much, at our most recent sort of family reunion in Milwaukee, almost all the grandchildren did not have any interest in it whatsoever. So I guess the question you have to ask yourself is it a disconnect between the way the church is communicating to young adults. As we all know, content is king. Programming. 80% of the programming, roughly, is geared towards older adults. 15% is geared towards children, and roughly 5% is geared towards the young adult crowd, the 18 to 35-year-olds, which is also correlating with generally when people start to sort of find religion irrelevant. Maybe they were dragged to church by their parents up until high school, and then they got to college. It didn't mean so much to them. Then maybe they have kids when they're 30, and maybe they want to bring the kids to church again. But there's this huge transformative time period where religion doesn't seem so important in America, and it seems like religion to some degree, Catholicism, whatever, is not really trying to cater to this age group. And I guess I started thinking back about models throughout history, especially the 20th century, of why maybe religion was important. And there were charismatic leaders. This Archbishop Fulton Sheen, he was one of the earliest people to be on radio and television. And he just got up there and spoke very plainly about why religion mattered. And he wore a cape. And he was very popular and was friends. Even the Bells of St. Mary, Going My Way, there were models for young adults in terms of not only religion matters, but, there's actually some cool people. Like priests were the stars of movies, and nuns were played by beautiful Ingrid Bergman. And then I guess you wonder, where is that model now? Completely imperfect, yet passionate about something that's important to him or her, and something that's important to their family, and who's maybe looking to provide that spirit of the law perspective, a fairly youthful perspective, but emphasizing not a lot of what we talked about earlier, the main issues that are in the media of religion, but its graces, its sacraments, its charity, and its goodness. Which is, again, when you boil religion down to its core, whatever it may be, Catholicism, whatever religion you are, that's what I think it comes down to. And people were completely losing sight in that. I would like to come in and pitch an idea, a concept. Think a Catholic James Dean meets Andy Rooney. They loved it, and now every week since I actually took Joe Blatz growing up in a media, and I did my final paper. This kicked it off, Joe, so thank you for that. Every week since I finished that class, I've been producing not a 30-minute homily on the minutia of sacred scripture, but a 2-minute web video for CatholicTV.com where I'll talk about family, or I'll talk about Lent, what you give up for Lent, it's 40 days before Easter, or just prayer. How important prayer is, whether you call it just praying to God or just sitting down and reflecting before you go to bed. And I guess in sort of Hudsey talk, in the lexicon, this is what I did. I scaffolded a message through aspirational role modeling within the scalable vein of new media production. I unpacked the salient and sustainable aspects of religion, layering them in relevant and entertaining content. And thirdly, I reframed the disconnected Catholic young adult conversation at a level I would describe as meta. Thank you.
Matt, thanks for showing that. I'm constantly amazed by your good work. I mean, every week it seems like there's something new that pops up with the Weber signature on it. It's amazing. I want to ask, so the content's there now, and we do know like the demographic that you're reaching for, you made that obvious. With all the social tools that you have available, I mean, in a world where we're seeing, especially like the biggest demographic right now is 25 to 34-year-old women, I believe. I mean, they're the consumers of social media. Does the demographic sort of analysis kind of play into exactly what it is you're creating? And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, at this point, I think they're just looking to establish a sort of brand for the 20 to 30-year-old people, that there's some content there for them. And then once we can start doing research and analysis, catering it more towards their specific needs and what they're looking for. But yeah, I mean, these are something I'll put together between like 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. on a Wednesday night and then drop it off. So hopefully when the summer comes, I'll be able to start up the analysis piece of it. Thanks, Nico. Right back at you with all your good work. You're pretty great.
I just wanted to point out that there's a halo over your head, and I don't really know how that got there.
I rarely write letters anymore. With emails and text messages, it's sometimes inefficient and outdated, and I bet even St. Paul would agree. Oh, I guess I'll CC the Thessalonians on this one. Yet recently I sat down to write a letter and realized that it was a lot harder than I remembered. It started with spelling, then smudging, then spacing, And suddenly, seemingly, my scribe skills had seriously slid. At 26 years old, I wondered if I was the last of a generation that actually wrote letters, even but occasionally, and without knowing or practice was quietly losing this timeless art. I thought of post office branches shutting down because of this and services being cut back, and I couldn't help but think of the church, also scaling back and closing buildings themselves. Lamenting the waning art of letter writing and prayer, I licked my envelope, grabbed a stamp, and there she was, smiling back at me, little Agnes from Albania. Even in stamp form, Blessed Mother Teresa brings peace. She now also brings a letter to my friend, and that's something she's really been doing for God her entire life. Delivering messages of hope, bringing peace, and sharing the timeless message of our church, that of simple and enduring love. Congrats on your stamphood, Blessed Mother Teresa. Sainthood's next. Now, for many of us in New England, it was a very tepid winter, more or less a cold 4-month spring. Now, officially, flowers are in bloom. Days are longer, the summer is off in the very near horizon, and one of my favorite spring activities, the little cliche, I, a very manly 28-year-old man in a Macy's suit jacket, still stop and smell the roses, or really any flower for that matter. Literally, it brings me great joy. It's one of those good things in the world that's still free. It's uniquely wonderful. Parallels to smelling roses, you're probably thinking. Where we're going to go with this? Probably somewhere religious. Wait for it, and yes, going to church. It's kind of like smelling a rose. It is technically free to do. It's refreshing. It's life-fulfilling, and it offers a scent for the soul to breathe in during each visit. So I say this, next time you see a flower, sniff it. You see a church, visit it. And enjoy the many smells of life, unless, of course, you have pollen allergies. Just stick with going to church.
And we are back. And that piece you just saw was by Matt Weber, who happens to be standing next to me. Matt, hello. Good
Hello,
to see
Jay.
you.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much for being on, first of all.
My pleasure.
Because anyone who's watched This Is a Day or any of our blinks know you well because you have done these wonderful videos for you. And you know that I say it on the air and I say it to you when I see you. I am always moved by your videos. First of all, they're well-written. They come from the heart. They're faith-filled. And they're funny. I mean, they are funny. I mean, when